Gravity Rush was a PlayStation Vita title released in 2012, and it's now been remastered for the PlayStation 4. Having never played the game back then, not only is this a review of the enhancements made with the remastered version, it's also a review of the game itself. This is Globku from Magical Noob, and this is Gravity Rush Remastered. You play as Kat, a character with no memory of her former self. She wakes up in this curious world with a strange-looking cat beside her. This cat seems to be the source of her power to shift gravity. Kat uses it to help people, but shifters are frowned upon in this society, leading her to meet all kinds of different people, friends and foes, as she falls sideways through this world. This gravity shifting mechanic is something unique that has never been seen in gaming before and since the original release of Gravity Rush. You hit R1 to float in the air, point in a direction and hit R1 again to fall in that same direction. Later in the game you unlock abilities such as Speedfall, which allows you to travel even faster in the direction you set, a stasis field so you can pick up objects and have them travel with you, and Gravity Slide, which shifts gravity to whatever ground you're traveling on as you slide across the world with significant speed. This gravity mechanic is truly something special and original that makes world traversing an incredibly satisfying experience. Just keep an eye out for your gravity gauge, because if it runs out, gravity goes back to normal and you fall face first into the floor. Because of your gravity powers, combat is also somewhat different than what we're used to. But this is where things start to fall apart. It all starts simple with an attack button and a dodge button, but quickly evolves into flying across the air, dive kicking opponents with terrific momentum. While floating in the air, if you aim your reticle at one of your enemy's weak spots and press the attack button, Kat will execute a flying kick that deals significant damage. The only problem is, with some enemies, Kat simply cannot track them well enough to deliver the blow she needs to. She will often miss targets when using this attack, which is one of your only options when fighting in the air. And I do understand why this mechanic is semi-automatic. The Vita's right thumbstick wasn't nearly good enough to adjust her trajectory mid-flight. But on the PS4, it was incredibly frustrating whenever she missed an attack. You can still choose to fight on the ground, but you won't be able to defeat most of your enemies. Even some ground monsters have their weak spot slightly higher than your normal kicks can reach, forcing you to jump and attack, something this game really wasn't built for apparently, and you'll end up missing most of your attempts. So you end up relying on your gravity powers a lot, and when these don't work, you've always got a special attack at your disposal. There are 3 kinds of special attacks, all of them equally devastating, which can be unleashed on a cooldown. I ended up having to rely on these for some enemies, as Kat would simply refuse to hit my enemies' weak points for so long, that I was able to use the special attack, wait for the cooldown, and use it again. The whole thing is very clunky, and while it might have been impressive in the Vita, it's definitely not up to PlayStation 4 standards. Most of your skills can be boosted. Your special attacks, your flying kicks, your fall speed, all of it can be increased in the customization menu. By completing missions and simply picking up gems in the world, you can make your character stronger in whatever abilities you want. If you feel like you need more damage on your kicks, spend some damage on your kick ability. If you feel like you need more speed while sliding, spend some gems on your gravity sliding ability. It's very straightforward and easy to understand, and it does give you some room to improve your favorite abilities, the ones that you rely on the most. But at the same time, it's not a customization system that will significantly change the way you play. It all comes down to falling through the air, dive kick enemies, throw objects at them, and occasionally use your special attack. It was very satisfying to dump all my gems into a certain ability and watch it destroy my enemies. But my playstyle is not going to be completely different from yours, should you choose a different route in customization. It's neat that it's there, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything significantly. The overall game structure is very simple and easy to grasp. You can go towards an icon to begin a story mission, a side mission, a challenge, or simply talk to an NPC. This last one usually triggers conversations that better help you understand the world that you're in. It might even give you hints as to what's gonna happen next in the story. Challenge missions are timed events, which you have to race through a bunch of rings or defeat enemies within a given time, stuff that will encourage you to master your abilities for bonus gems. Side missions and story missions have a lot of variety, keeping them from becoming stale at any point in the game. Sure, there are some boring missions like the ones where you have to carry people in your stasis field to rescue them, and if you get hit by an enemy attack you immediately drop them and have to go back to pick them up again. But thankfully, these missions are few and far between. For most of the time, you'll either be so immersed in the story that you just want to find out what happens next, or the game will be exploring your abilities in new ways, forcing you to adapt constantly, by giving you new enemy types, boss fights, or simply new environments that require a bit more expertise in the usage of your gravity powers. I was really happy with the activities the game gave me, but unfortunately, that's all there is. These missions took me about 10 hours to complete, and I was left wanting more of this game. I could go back to complete some of the challenges that I haven't done yet, but some of those aren't really fun. This is not why I come to this game. But for those 10 hours of gameplay, I was happy the whole time. And maybe it wasn't just the mission structure or the activities themselves that kept me glued to the chair playing this game, but also the world's rich lore. There's a story that is told throughout the missions, and this is a story that feels complete, with a few loose ends though. But there is so much more to this world that is simply not told directly in the story. The constant threat of the darkness that will consume everyone, whose origin or cause are unknown. Kat's memories of her former self, powerful beings capable of manipulating dreams or even the fabric of reality. Even though I finished this game's story, I still want to know more about this world and its characters, which I guess that's why they're making a Gravity Rush 2. And the game truly goes places I did not expect. Then again, there are moments where the game reminds you that you're playing as a teenage girl who wants boys to notice her and her outfits, which were character building moments that I wasn't really a fan of, but overall, I really enjoyed it and look forward to more. Finally, let's talk about presentation, which was a hard thing for me to rate. On one hand, I really like the character's art style as well as the menus and some parts of the world, and while it could have been impressive on the Vita, I don't think it looks great on PlayStation 4. The draw distance isn't there, the resolutions are indeed HD, but you see a lot of the same textures throughout the city, and most of these textures aren't really impressive at all. Cutscenes and dialogue are typically presented in comic book style, with occasionally but very rare voice acting bits. The voice acting is done in a foreign language, which is totally fine, but it was so unpredictable and scarce. I would have liked a bit more voice acting, if nothing else, just to give these characters a voice that I could relate to. But that might just be a pet peeve of mine. I really like the comic book style presentation and the design of these characters, but everything else I found a bit lacking. From gameplay to story to presentation, the time I spent with Gravity Rush Remastered on PlayStation 4 was memorable and left me wanting for more. But it truly is a Vita game, and you can see and feel a lot of its limitations. With all its qualities and faults, I score this game a B. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the original Gravity Rush and if you're thinking of picking this one up. Hit up that comment section. And while you're down there, leave me a like if this review was useful. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, you might have noticed we changed our review format. Again, yeah. We're trying this stuff out, and the previous system only gave us 3 scores, which I felt wasn't enough to distinguish some games. So we're trying these letters now. Let me know if it's too confusing, if you like it, if you don't, I'd love some feedback on that. Until next time, I've been Globku. Take care, everyone. Bye.